Sheikh Abu Turab, one of the best informed as to the nature of the developments in Badasht, is reported to have related the following incident. Illness one day confined Baha'u'llah to his bed. Qudus, as soon as he heard of his indisposition, hastened to visit him. He seated himself when ushered into his presence on the right hand of Baha'u'llah. The rest of the companions were gradually admitted to his presence and grouped themselves around him. No sooner had they assembled than Muhammad Hassini Qazvini, the messenger of Táhirih, upon whom the name of Fatal Qazvini had been newly conferred, suddenly came in and conveyed to Qudus a pressing invitation from Táhirih to visit her in her own garden. "I have severed myself entirely from her," he boldly and decisively replied. "I refuse to meet her." The messenger retired immediately and soon returned, reiterating the same message and appealing to him to heed her urgent call. "She insists on your visit," were his words. "If you persist in your refusal, she herself will come to you." Perceiving his unyielding attitude, the messenger unsheathed his sword, laid it at the feet of Qudus, and said, "I refuse to go without you. Either accompany me to the presence of Táhirih or cut off my head with this sword." "I have already declared my intention not to visit Táhirih," Qudus angrily retorted. "I am willing to comply with the alternative which you have chosen to put before me." Muhammad Hassan, who had seated himself at the feet of Qudus, had stretched forth his neck to receive the fatal blow, when suddenly the figure of Táhirih, adorned and unveiled, appeared before the eyes of the assembled companions. Consternation immediately seized the entire gathering. All stood aghast before this sudden and most unexpected apparition. To behold her face unveiled was to them inconceivable. Even to gaze at her shadow was a thing which they deemed improper, inasmuch as they regarded her as the very incarnation of Fatima, the noblest emblem of chastity in their eyes. Quietly, silently, and with the utmost dignity, Táhirih stepped forward and, advancing towards Qudus, seated herself on his right-hand side. Her unruffled serenity sharply contrasted with the affrighted countenances of those who were gazing upon her face. Fear, anger, and bewilderment stirred the depths of their souls. That sudden revelation seemed to have stunned their faculties. Abdul Khaliki Esfahani was so gravely shaken that he cut his throat with his own hands. Covered with blood and shrieking with excitement, he fled away from the face of Táhirih. A few, following his example, abandoned their companions and forsook their faith. A number were seen standing speechless before her, confounded with wonder. Qudus, meanwhile, had remained seated in his place, holding the unsheathed sword in his hand, his face betraying a feeling of inexpressible anger. It seemed as if he were waiting for the moment when he could strike his fatal blow at Táhirih. His threatening attitude failed, however, to move her. Her countenance displayed that same dignity and confidence which she had evinced at the first moment of her appearance before the assembled believers. A feeling of joy and triumph had now illumined her face. She rose from her seat and, undeterred by the tumult that she had raised in the hearts of her companions, began to address the remnant of that assembly. Without the least premeditation, and in language that bore a striking resemblance to that of the Quran, she delivered her appeal with matchless eloquence and profound fervour. She concluded her address with this verse of the Quran: "Verily, amid gardens and rivers shall the pious dwell in the seat of truth, in the presence of the potent King." As she uttered these words, she cast a furtive glance towards both Baha'u'llah and Qudus, in such a manner that those who were watching her were unable to tell to which of the two she was alluding. Immediately after, she declared, "I am the word which the ʿAyn is to utter, the word which shall put to flight the chiefs and nobles of the earth." She then turned her face towards Qudus and rebuked him for having failed to perform in Khurasan those things which she deemed essential to the welfare of the faith. "I am free to follow the promptings of my own conscience," retorted Qudus. "I am not subject to the will and pleasure of my fellow disciples." Turning away her eyes from him, Táhirih invited those who were present to celebrate befittingly this great occasion. "This day is the day of festivity and universal rejoicing, the day on which the fetters of the past are burst asunder. Let those who have shared in this great achievement arise and embrace each other."